Pam Bondi sat in the courtroom, calm and composed. The judge stared at her with a cold, unyielding expression. Then, with a voice sharp as a blade, he delivered a sentence that sent shockwaves through the room. "Miss Bondi, you are fined for contempt of court. The reason? You are wearing a cross in my courtroom." The air grew heavy. Murmurs rippled through the gallery. Some gasped. Others whispered in disbelief. Pam Bondi didn't flinch. Instead, she did something that no one saw coming. She leaned forward, locked eyes with the judge, and smiled. A knowing, calculated smile, because what was about to happen next would leave the entire legal world in utter chaos. Pam Bondi was no ordinary attorney. She had spent years dismantling some of the most corrupt institutions in America. From corporate fraudsters to high-profile criminals, she had taken them all down. But today, she wasn't just fighting for a client. She was fighting for herself. It had started as a routine court appearance, a simple hearing on a case that, by all accounts, should have been straightforward. But then, the judge's eyes landed on something, a small, delicate cross hanging around Pam's neck. And that's when everything took a turn. "Remove it," the judge ordered. Pam frowned. "Excuse me, your cross. Take it off, or leave my courtroom." A hush fell over the crowd. The tension was suffocating. Pam was a woman of faith, and more importantly, a woman of law. She knew her rights, and she knew one thing for sure: what the judge was demanding was unconstitutional. So she made a choice. She refused. And that's when the hammer came down. A fine, a charge of contempt. But what the judge didn't realize was, he had just made the biggest mistake of his career, because Pam Bondi wasn't just going to fight back. She was about to tear his entire argument apart, piece by piece. And when she was done, he wouldn't just regret fining her. He'd regret ever trying to silence her in the first place. Pam Bondi didn't react the way most people would. She didn't beg. She didn't plead. She simply stood up, adjusted her blazer, and calmly said, "Your Honor, I would like to clarify something for the record." The judge leaned back. "Clarify what?" Pam tilted her head, her voice unwavering. "Are you saying that wearing a cross in this courtroom is a violation of the law?" The judge scoffed. "I am saying that religious symbols have no place in a court of law." Pam nodded slowly. Then she reached into her briefcase, pulled out a folder, and began flipping through papers. Fascinating. Because according to the First Amendment of the United States Constitution, that's entirely false. The judge's expression shifted, just slightly, a flicker of doubt. Pam didn't stop. "Let's talk about precedent, shall we?" she continued. In 1990, the Supreme Court ruled in Employment Division v. Smith that the government cannot interfere with religious expression unless there is a compelling state interest. There is no such interest here. So tell me, Your Honor, what exactly is your legal basis for this fine? Silence. A bead of sweat formed at the judge's temple. The gallery was hanging on to every word, but Pam wasn't finished. "Or perhaps you'd prefer to discuss Tinker v. Des Moines, where the Supreme Court explicitly protected symbolic expression, such as wearing religious jewelry, as a form of free speech." The judge shifted uncomfortably. Pam closed the folder with a soft thud. "Your Honor, with all due respect, your ruling is not just unconstitutional. It is a direct violation of the freedoms this very court is supposed to uphold." And just like that, the power in the room shifted. The judge, once so confident, now looked cornered. Pam Bondi had just thrown down a challenge, and the whole courtroom knew he had no way to win. The judge's face darkened. "Miss Bondi, you are out of line." Pam folded her arms. "Am I? Or are you simply realizing that your ruling doesn't hold up?" The tension was unbearable. Then something unexpected happened. A voice from the back of the courtroom. "Your Honor, if I may." All heads turned. It was another attorney, a man in a sharp suit, standing up from the gallery. "I'd like to enter an amicus brief in support of Miss Bondi's argument." Murmurs erupted in the room. More voices joined in. A legal scholar stood. "Your Honor, this is a clear violation of constitutional rights." A civil rights lawyer raised a hand. If you penalize her for wearing a cross, you set a dangerous precedent. What's next? A yarmulke? A hijab? The courtroom was no longer on the judge's side. Pam Bondi had done the unthinkable. She had turned the judge's own courtroom against him. And now, he had only two options: back down, or dig in deeper, and risk being the center of a legal firestorm that would destroy his reputation. The judge took a deep breath. Enough. The room fell silent. Miss Bondi stepped forward. Pam walked up to the bench. And then he did something that no one expected. He picked up his gavel and slammed it down. "This fine is hereby dismissed," the judge announced. Gasps. Pam raised an eyebrow. "I beg your pardon." The judge exhaled sharply. "Miss Bondi, you've made your point." The room erupted into whispers. The gallery was stunned. Pam Bondi had won. But just as she turned to leave, the judge called out one last time, "One more thing, Miss Bondi." She turned back, curious. The judge hesitated. Then in a low voice he said, "You didn't hear this from me, but you should watch your back." Pam narrowed her eyes. "Why?" The judge glanced at the courtroom doors. "Because not everyone appreciates someone who knows the law better than they do." And with that he banged the gavel one last time. Case closed. But for Pam Bondi, this was only the beginning. Because if one judge was willing to silence her, how many others were out there doing the same? And just how far would they go to make sure she never spoke out again? To be continued. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.